Hey guys, and welcome back to the HobbyDude 007 channel. Back in July, we started this Carl Casper phone booth show car, or show rod, by MPC. Now, this was released originally in 1969. It was the only issue of it, to my knowledge. That's all I could find on Scalemates anyway, too. And I don't think it's been reissued since. But this kit holds a lot of memories for me because back in '69, I built one of these. And in a video in the past, we did some year and a half or so ago on Holy Grails, kits that we remember and would like to get our hands on. This was one of mine. Well, when we showed up in Atlanta last year at the Acme show, my buddy Jeff Elliott met me in the parking lot and gifted this to me. And I tell you, I can't express the appreciation I had then. And now that it's finished and going to be a good memory piece for the shelf, it's just great, and I can't thank him enough, Jeff. Brother, I do truly appreciate it. This brings back such great memories. But this kit is an old one, and it was not without its challenges if you followed along. If you haven't, we'll review just a couple little spots here and there. But man, I'm pleased with the outcome, but it was not easy to get to in some ways. So let's get over into it. Little review of the kit again. I got those good old yellow instructions out here. If you recall, when we started this thing, when you looked straight down the back or down the front where the fenders of the chassis was, instead of being straight, they were bowed down like this. So if you recall, we had to do some heating and put some weight on it to kind of bring that back level. And you remember two sections of the center broke, and so we refabricated the center bar there, and pretty much exactly like the original was. And looking back at the old instructions, this was pretty simple. And also, if you recall, we took the suspension and these old show rods and these old things, kind of like a gasser, set high. Well, if you recall, we modified the leaf spring in the front to drop it down a little bit. Same thing with the rear. Wanted to lower it a little bit, but keep the original look. Now, I'm not talking about a modern in-the-weeds looking thing, but it took a little work there, but pretty cool. Simplified instructions, simplified kit here. Of course, it shows fully assemble the engine and then put it in the car, but actually, if you recall, we had to remove the headers to get it in the car and then reinstall them from the bottom. And instructions are coming apart. And by the way, remember we used we replaced the Kragers with the Kragers from MCV Products. Matthew knocked out a great set of headers, and we changed up and used the parts pack slicks. I think the only tires that we kept were the original front tires, and the slicks were replaced with the blue streaks from the AMT parts pack. There's that chassis, and as you recall, we up in here we honed that out a little bit and then shortened this, so that gave that a little droop. Same thing in the front, made some modifications, and right here we removed these pins and moved them way up to drop that down a little bit, and that worked out really nice too. Had a few problems here, if you remember, at the back of these forward ladder bars snapped off, and all we did was took I think it was a number 72 drill bit, drilled into here, and then just put a piece of straight pin that we just cut off in there and pinned those back together, and that reinforced them, so we were good. The telephone booth itself and the chassis, if you remember, as you see here, there were injection mold marks everywhere. So we had to smooth those out. We putted those in, block sanded them, and then used our sanding pen to remove a few of them. The ones that were inside the telephone booth, as you see here, were many. So it took a little time to get all that stuff done. And we replaced several of the items in the telephone booth itself. Instead of the stool, more like you could move around, we went with the one like that's in the real car, which was the almost like at a counter at a soda shop or something, little column type stool. So we replaced that, and really did a good bit to the telephone booth. I wanted to add a few little extras, so I took out my micro punch, and using the two smallest, punched out some quarters and dimes to sit on the shelf, as you see here. Nice little touch, I think, anyway. The windshield wipers were replaced with photo etch. These things just look pretty bad and really out of scale. So we replaced those with photo etch from Detail Master, and I think those turned out pretty good. And as you recall, we modified the steering wheel, made a new shifter. This one just didn't look right to me. The original glass we polished and got everything cleaned up really nicely in that. And if you remember, all four of the panels were warped a little bit, so we heated those, put a book on them, and of course when the windows were in there, that kind of squared them up a little bit too. This back window we just couldn't salvage, so we had to cut that out of a piece of 15 thousandths evergreen, clear evergreen, as you see here. And the rest of it went together pretty good. The final assembly was where we ran into a problem. This video should have been up this past Tuesday, and here it is Friday night. Well, probably up Saturday. But this thing was absolutely, with the sub-assemblies finished, chassis, phone booth, all the sub-assemblies pretty much done, ready to go together. That's when I ran into some serious problems, and when I say serious, nothing wanted to line up. So I guess when I was a kid, enough glue fixed anything. But this thing just, oh wow, nothing wanted to line up. The suspension, even for the modifications, was fine. The engine, the tail shaft of the engine was way too long for the drive shaft, and had to take a decent amount back to shorten the tail shaft. I mean, it still looks right because it butts right up to it perfect, but it took some modifying. The transmission itself would not sit down, even though it was lined up with a cross member, and that's the one we replicated, but I went back and measured and it was the same size. So we had to take the Dremel or the tack light and kind of take just a little bit out of the bottom of the transmission, and that meant we had to do some repainting. So what should have been done quite a bit earlier just wasn't going to work. And when I was putting the door and the top on the phone booth, it just wouldn't. That wouldn't line up either. So I had to go back and modify, because I wanted the door to work. I wanted it to function. And it does, but it did require me to do some work. And my buddy Scott Colmer, who is the editor-in-chief of Auto Modeler magazine, and I were talking, and he was telling me, giving me an idea, and it worked. So Scott, thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate that. But it does help the door open and close a little better now. The decals, as you recall, were missing, so my daughter Lauren did the vinyl dry transfers for those, and I think those turned out really well. And with that being said, and all the challenges, I did have to do some grinding here and there, and again, that required some repainting. I am, again, very, very pleased with the all-clad candy silver base and the custom mix of the paint that we did there, which was the candy red and candy lemon yellow, just enough, added a little bit at a time until we got the look we wanted. So that is it, guys. With that being said, let's get over and take a look at this beauty. Well, here it is, guys. Carl Casper's phone booth show rod. This was a fun build despite the challenges, and there were many. But you know what? We're modelers, so we can handle it. I apologize in advance. I'm holding the camera by hand so I can zoom in and kind of back off a little bit, but I wanted you to be able to see it. Right up front, I am very, very tickled with that paint again. That all-clad candy colors, really something over their bright silver base. And as you recall, we just custom mixed a little bit of the candy red with lemon yellow, a few drops at a time, and shot it, test shot, until we got just enough orange hue that really made it stand out. And I think it's really just a great candy color. Added some pinstriping from Gopher Racing, as you can see down here on the back and up here. Also added it to the fenders. I'm going to have to wait till the light hits that just right, I think. But right in the corner of the fenders, you can see some of the little same matching gold, and you see it on the cowl up there. But right in the corner there, well, you can see some, as well as on the back fenders. But I didn't want to get carried away and get it too gaudy looking. I really think it turned out pretty good. The single tail light and the backup light and the lantern brake lights back there. And as you recall, we reshaped and redid those in chrome, and then did the just a drop of the Tamiya red over those, and the amber or yellow clear on the front ones. But I think those turned out really well. Yeah, you can see that back fender there. And remember the suspension, how we dropped it a little bit. It's not dramatic, but it is closer. It's not riding quite as high as it was. There you see that chrome rear end. A typical show car for the era. The Hemi turned out really, really nice. We've got that done in all-clad chrome. The scoop is in all-clad chrome. The valve covers are in polished aluminum, as is the radiator's polished aluminum, and the headlight bezels. And the headers were, of course, the polished aluminum, which is close to chrome, but on those pinstripes, again, I didn't want to get carried away and get it too gaudy, but I did want it to have that 60s look and have a nice tone to it. Now, the phone booth itself, the door does work. The windshield wipers were again replaced with photo etch, which hopefully you can see those now. The decals again are transfers, vinyl transfers that my daughter Lauren printed for me. I think they turned out pretty well. And let me turn this off a second so we can focus on the booth. We took a piece of glittery kind of paper from Hobby Lobby and cut out the center there. And as the cushion, the seat, there's our foot gas pedal down there, the gauges, steering wheel, and if you can see the coins on the tray, the telephone tray up there, and I don't know if you can, to be honest with you guys. I may be too far away. There we go. But you can see the coins. That was just a touch that I thought of, that I thought would just be fun. And that's what these are about. And there's our tread plate on the floor from Evergreen, and the Detail Master fine tread plate, well, if I can back off here a little bit, for the roof. I don't know if that was on the roof, but just that blank space up there just didn't look right, and I thought that would add a little bit of detail to it. But again, for me, this is just an awesome piece of childhood history and a great memory for me. And oh, I was going to show you the door open. It does open and close. I did have to work it a little bit. And again, thank you, Scott. I'm doing this all with one hand, guys. So yeah, there we go. And boom. So it's closed up nice and tight. And we'll turn the turntable back on for a revolution, and then I'll open it back up again. But I think I'm going to display it with the door open. I think it's just going to look better that way. I think that's pretty much the way the real car was displayed most of the time, was with the door slid open. So yeah, it'll get around here and we'll do that. But again, I really like the overall stance that we ended up with. It's definitely a tall T. There we go. Now let's see if I can do this again with one hand. Hey, there we go. Yeah. There we go. Well, guys, thanks for traveling along with me on this one. This has been a very enjoyable kit, as I said, despite the issues. A fun build. I'm just tickled to have it as a shelf model and something that I'll be able to enjoy and remember. So, guys, appreciate you. Thank you so much. Head over to HobbyNut Models, check out Mark's inventory, and pick you up some of that all-clad candy colors. And also, I got an email from him this week about some new kits that have come in. So be sure you check out new arrivals, things like that too. Great stuff. Well, guys, God bless. I hope y'all have an awesome weekend, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.